Gee, I'm a tree.
Hi guys, so today we're going to talk about factoring. This is for geometry students that just sort of need maybe a little refresher in factoring. So, here you go. The first thing we're going to do, you have an equation with a square, and it's equal to 0. In this case, if it's equal to 0, that is the key part about this problem. Because if you have two things that multiply together that will equal 0, one of them must be 0. So, let's take a look. If I the key thing with this is you're going to look at the last number. Now, in this case, the first number is 0. And in New York State, for geometry, 90% of the problems will always have 1 here. We'll talk more about when you have a coefficient in front later on. But you're going to look at this number. Figure it's two numbers that multiply to be 10 that add to be negative 7. Now, don't worry so much about the negative. Just look at the 7 for right now. So, I'm going to do everything very written out. So, I'm going to start with 10. What two numbers multiply together to be 10? I have 1 times 10, and then 2 times 5. 3 doesn't work, 4 doesn't work, and oh, 5. 5's there. When you get to this point, when you've repeated a number, that means you're done figuring out all the factors. Now, we need two numbers that multiply to 10 that add to 7. So here I have 1 and 10. They add together to be 11. 2 from 5. Yay! So I circle that. Now what I do is, since it's negative, we put our two little bars here. You put your x and x. And since we have 2 and 5, you're going to do minus 2 and minus 5. And that's going to be equal to 0. Okay? Now, since this is a product and it's equal to 0, the only time that happens is if one of them is 0. So that's why you do your little t-table. And what you're really doing is you're doing x minus 2 equals 0 to get your answer, or x minus 5 equals 0. Okay? Now, x minus 2 equals 0, that's when x is equal to 2. And x minus 5 is 0 when x equals 5. So that means x can be equal to 2 or 5. Okay? Make sense? Now, let's move on to two more examples. First one we're going to talk about is this one. X squared plus 4x equals 12. Uh-oh. Remember, I said before, it has to be equal to 0. So since it's not equal to 0, what we have to do is we subtract 12 from both sides. Now I have x squared plus 4x minus 12 equals 0. Okay? If this is that case, we look for two numbers that multiply to 12, and now instead of adding, they're going to subtract to be 4. So, let's write out the factors of 12. 1 times 12, 2 times 6, 3 times 4, 4, oh, I already got my 4. Yay, I'm done. So I got three different options. Now we need two numbers multiplied to 12 that subtract to be 4. So since it's going to be, we do 12 minus 1 gives me 11. 6 minus 2 gives me 4, okay. And 4 minus 3 is 1. So our choice answer is 2 and 6. Now since it's subtracting, we need to figure out which one's bigger. Only one's going to be positive, the other one's going to be negative. So, in order to figure that out, we first just do our x's thing again. I put x, and we have it set equal to 0. Now, the one that's going to be positive is going to be the bigger one because the number in front of the 4 is positive. So we do x plus 6, x minus 2. Once again, we do our t-chart. I do x plus 6 equals 0, and x minus 2 equals 0. Okay? Now, when you solve for this, you get x equals negative 6, and x equals 2. So our choices are x is equal to negative 6 or 2. Now, in geometry, typically when you get these problems, they're talking about length. And in this case, I can't have a negative 6 as a length, so that's why you could eliminate that as an answer. But in this case, in this problem specifically, they're not asking for that, so just be on the lookout for that type of situation. Okay, let's look at the last question. X squared minus 2x equals 8. We do this again. We do we subtract the 8 over. Now, if we're looking for two numbers that multiply to be 8, that subtract to be 2. So let's write out our factors of 8. I got 1 times 8, 2 times 4, 3 doesn't work, and 4, oh, okay, we're done. Now, two numbers that subtract to be 2. 8 minus 1 is 7, 4 minus 2 is, okay, good. 4 minus 2 is 2. So, we look at this sign. It's negative, so the bigger one is going to be negative. So we do our little parentheses again, set it equal to 0, put our x's. Now, since this was negative, the bigger number, 4, is going to be negative, and the smaller number is going to be positive. We do our t-chart. We get x minus 4 equals 0, x plus 2 equals 0, x is equal to 4, or x is equal to negative 2. And in geometry, if we're talking about length, then we can eliminate the negative 2. Okay? Hopefully that's a good review for you. If you have any questions, feel free to bug me or make a comment. Later. Bye.